Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. I'm Mike. That is Sam up there. For those of you who don't know, yesterday we put out a video. It was a hot take type video with Sam talking about why the Seahawks should not, even if he is proven innocent, trade for Deshaun Watson. We put out that video yesterday. Today, we have my hot take of this week. But before we get into that, make sure if you guys are liking the videos, if you guys are enjoying our content, make sure to subscribe and like the video. Also, comment your opinions on what I'm about to say because we really like to hear back from you guys. We'd like to hear your feedback, all that type of stuff. So, as you guys probably have seen from the title, my hot take that I believe, and I'm going to try to debate today, is that I believe that Pete Carroll has done a poor job overall as the Seahawks head coach. Now, scorching hot. I know that is like, damn, burn your fingers hot. I got it. Consider this. Before I get started, I'm just going to say it is without a doubt that Pete Carroll is the one and only coach ever to lead the Seahawks to a Super Bowl win. So that right there, you could say invalidates my argument. But I insist that you just hear what I have to say and you reserve judgment until the end of the video. And you wait for your comments till the end of the video because I'm going to explain myself. This has been on my mind for a while now. And with recent events that have gone down, I feel even more strongly about this. Okay. So why do I think Pete Carroll has overall failed as a Seahawks head coach? Reason number one, he has failed to modernize his style of play. You look at Pete Carroll, specifically the way he likes to run offense. It's been compared to offense in the 80s. Greg Olson, I believe a couple of days ago, went on and talked about how he just would refuse to run certain concepts. Greg would bring up things, and maybe Russell Wilson would bring up things and all that. Pete wouldn't run it. He was very stuck in his ways. He was very run the ball, and play good defense. And as we know, as most of us know anyway, that is not the way the NFL works now, right? You gotta pass the ball. It's a much more pass-happy league. And Pete Carroll, just his schemes, the way he wants to game plan, it has not been modernized for the NFL. And because of that, another side effect, which I'll get into later, is I think he has, I don't want to say wasted, but he has not unlocked the full potential of Russell Wilson's career. But I'll touch more on that in just a few minutes. Another reason, I think that Pete Carroll wasted an all-time roster, right? As I mentioned before, we won the Super Bowl. We had the Legion of Boom. We had Bobby Wagner, Sherman. We had Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas. Offensively, we were cooking. We had Doug Baldwin, Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Max Unger, Russell Okung. We had a really, really good team. Russ was on his rookie contract. Marshawn was still relatively young. Sherman and Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas, those guys, had been in the league less than 5 years, right? So these were young players. These were guys who were really, really good at what they were doing, and we were rolling, right? This roster, this was supposed to be the dynasty team, right? That's what you look for. Go to the Super Bowl next year, obviously lose it off of one of the worst decisions in the history of any sport to not give it to Marshawn Lynch, which could be a whole point in its own just based off of the ramifications that one decision had on this franchise. Because I think since that, not only have the Seahawks not been the same, not only have they really not been true contenders since, but I think it broke a lot of relationships in that organization. And I think that it really had a massive ripple effect. Obviously, we didn't win a Super Bowl because of it, but I think the ripple effects go even way deeper than that. That could almost be a point on its own. But I want to say, since then, you know what I mean? We really haven't done anything with that super team that we had. We went to one more Super Bowl, and that was pretty much it. We were really, really, really good for one more season, and that is very sad. When you have all those guys, and it's different if you're a team and you sign a bunch of veteran free agents, and they, it's like the last chance, and you got to make it this year. But our guys were young, and our guys were really, really good. Injuries really didn't become a factor until later. But in the years that we had him healthy, we really didn't do much with him. Number three, this is number three intentionally, drove Russell Wilson away. Now, we haven't known the exact, because Russell Wilson is such a nice guy. I doubt ever in his life Russell Wilson will come out and say to the public, Pete Carroll did this that made me mad. Pete Carroll did this that made me mad. Blah, 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 blah. He's not going to do that. However, you can tell by the interviews and you could tell by the reports and everyone saying everything that he really didn't get along with Pete Carroll. He really didn't get along with Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, for some reason, refused to allow Russell Wilson to be Russell Wilson. He always wanted to put him in a box. He wanted him to run the ball, run, the safe offense. And Russell Wilson is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's a playmaker. He wants to go out there and ball. So Pete Carroll's philosophy was for 3 quarters, we're going to run the ball, do whatever. And then, in the 4th quarter, Russell Wilson, you just go crazy and you can win us games. And that philosophy won us games, but it really never got us, to the Super Bowl past 2014. So it's just very clear to me that the friction in the relationship between Russ and Pete, it just rubbed a little too much. And as of 3 days ago, Russell Wilson is no longer a Seahawk because of it. I am sure that if Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson had a strong relationship and they both liked each other and they were both willing to listen to each other, which I think Russ was, I think if Pete was the same way, where he wanted to trust and listen to Russell Wilson and, all that type of stuff, they could have made it work and Russell Wilson could have been a Seahawk lifer, which he absolutely should be. Another reason, and I touched on this before, after 2014, the Seahawks really didn't do anything. We've won 3 playoff games since then. One of them was against Josh McCown, in 40-year-old Josh McCown, and I believe 2019 it was, when Carson Wentz got hurt. So 3 playoff wins in 7 or 8 years is not good. That's not anything to brag about, especially not when you have, again, a Hall of Fame quarterback, a Hall of Fame middle linebacker, and, you have some really good offensive weapons, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. And I think this kind of segues perfectly into my next point is Pete Carroll had an inability, and I know this is also John Schneider a little bit. He had an inability to fill the major holes of the roster. As of right now, we still have problems with our offensive line. We've been having this issue for 6-7 years now, right? Our offensive line is garbage for the most part. Our defensive line, not very good. Our defensive backs, our corners, not very good. You know what I mean? So our running backs, who knows? And that's just been a common theme. There hasn't been consistency. There hasn't really been a stability for Russell Wilson to operate in. He's always dealing with, bad offensive line, bad game planning, bad coaching, whatever. So it really hasn't allowed the Seahawks offense specifically to flourish. And again, defensively speaking, they've made some not great personnel decisions getting our defense. Another, reason, and again, this is partially John Schneider as well, is some of their front office moves have been very, very questionable. You look at our draft, and I think the Seahawks draft, you can kind of describe it as overall bad, but with a few absolute home runs, right? DK Metcalf is a home run. I think Jordan Brooks is really, really good. In 2015, we got Frank Clark and Tyler Lockett. Boom, boom, right? After that Super Bowl, the home runs get fewer and far between. So it really becomes, you have a lot of guys that just flat out can't play, right? You have guys that are not on the roster, didn't even make the roster. And it's just sad. It's really sad. So I think for those reasons, Pete Carroll has overall done a bad job as a Seahawks head coach. I think with that team, more specifically, with Russell Wilson, I think we could have won at least 2 or 3 Super Bowls, but I think he has held us back from doing so. That's my opinion. Sam, what do you think?
Okay. So very interesting to sit quietly through that because it really gave me a moment to seriously think about it. And I took notes on all your points. So I'm gonna go through them one by one.
Mm-hmm.
Lacks modern change. I cannot disagree with that in any way.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. The man has almost a caveman thought of how to run a football team now. It's so old and outdated. It feels like it's 60s and 70s football where it's just, yeah, we're going to ground and pound. We're going to hold them to 10 points. We're going to win 13-10.
That's what he wants to do. Yeah, 100%.
That's what he wants to do. And that is so old, and it just doesn't hold up when you're playing these teams that are putting up 30 points a game every week. It's that can't hold up. Wasted all-time talent. Yes, I will agree with that. I think that in the sense that Sherman and that whole LOB group didn't really have much effect on how good the Seahawks were after Super Bowl 49. Kind of sucks. Obviously, that's probably the greatest secondary in NFL history. And it just never went anywhere. It seemed like after that season, never really went anywhere, never really developed into anything greater than it was, and I feel like that is a really big knock on him and what he could do there. Drove his quarterback away. I'm also going to agree that kind of ties back to your first point with, having that old style of football. Russell Wilson and his camp clearly did not like that, and that probably facilitated a trade to Denver. And that is obviously very, very bad because you don't want that when your coach is driving away your Hall of Fame quarterback. That just can't happen. Lack of success post Super Bowl. I'm going to agree with that as well. When you have a roster like that, once again, you can't build it into anything greater, and you're stuck in this mediocrity where it's like, yeah, we're good, but we're not great. Yeah, that really hurts to watch, especially with those Seahawks teams and how they were run. And how much talent they had. Lack of off-season moves to really improve the team. I'm going to agree on that in free agency. In the draft, though, I kind of have trouble fully disagreeing with that, given the greatness of the 2010, 2011, and 2012 drafts to build up what should have been a dynasty. Those are that's arguably the three greatest stretch of drafts from any team in NFL history. The Seahawks in 2010 got Earl Thomas and Russell Okung in the same round. I think they also got Cam Chancellor later on in that draft. In 2011, you get KJ Wright, you get Golden Tate, you get Richard Sherman, you get James Carpenter. And in 2012, you obviously get Bruce Irvin, Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, Byron Maxwell. All of those guys went on to be key pieces of that 2013 Super Bowl team. And I have trouble fully agreeing with that. Also in the sense that you do get a guy like DK Metcalf, you do get a guy like Tyler Lockett, you do get a guy like Frank Clark. You do get a guy like Jordan Brooks. I mean, obviously these hits are few and far between, which is why I can't fully disagree, but I also cannot fully agree with that statement. And I would say the more so a lack of offseason moves is more so a lack in quality of offseason moves.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we went out and we made those trades for Jimmy Graham, if you remember that one.
Percy Harvin, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Trading Max Unger in a first-round pick for Jimmy Graham.
That's a bad move. That is a bad move.
Bad move. Yeah. Aged really badly. Jamal Adams, listen, the trade is fine in hindsight, given the fact that we got rid of Russ 2 years after. Bad trade in hindsight. It just is. It's kind of unfortunately a bad trade. You look at Percy Harvin, bad trade. Had one really good Super Bowl game, and the rest of it was just not worth that first-round pick that you gave up. So it's not more so the lack of moves, it's a lack in quality. You go out and every year you're talking about, oh, they have money, what are they going to do this year? And it's another kind of 3-game wonder that you hope into the next big thing.
Yeah,
they were never really willing to go all in on these guys that were in free agency that could have made their teams really good.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say overall, I'm going to agree with you in the sense that Pete Carroll failed the Seahawks, not in the sense that he didn't win enough games, because he did win enough games. I mean, the Seahawks, I think, have won 100 games in the last 10 years.
Yeah, Russ won, I think, 103 at the end of this year.
Yeah. That alone is an upset. Pete Carroll did not fail the Seahawks. However, he did fail the Seahawks in having that Super Bowl team, that incredibly young 2013 Super Bowl team. And the fact that it didn't turn into anything greater, the fact that it didn't turn into a team that was dominant and consistently going deep into the playoffs every year is frankly a major stain on Pete Carroll's legacy.
Yeah.
And we're going to see him get another chance at building up the Seahawks team, and it's going to be his last chance.
Yeah.
So how is that going to turn out? I don't know. So I'm going to say I agree with you, not fully in the sense that he failed the Seahawks in general, but in the sense that he couldn't build on the greatness that he and John Schneider formed in Seattle and couldn't make it something bigger than it was.
Yeah. And when I say fail, what I really am trying to say specifically is that he didn't. I think the job of a great coach is to enhance or raise, what the team is capable of. You need to be greater than the sum of your parts, I think, and a good head coach can do that. But I mean, look at Bill Belichick. How many of those Patriots teams on paper were not amazing that he took to Super Bowls? Obviously, Brady was there too, but I think Pete Carroll didn't do a good enough job of reaching our full potential for the last 12, 13 years he's been here. So that is my hot take.
Totally agree with that. So
that's my hot take. So
it's a scorcher.
Very, very scorching. People are going to see the title and just type away.
It's kind of similar to a take that's like Ron Rivera failed Carolina. It's something where builds a successful team. He has that 1 year where it seems like this is the team to beat for the next 10 years. And it fizzles out just like that, So, I totally agree. I totally wholeheartedly agree with that take. So, that's gonna be it. Let us know if you want to see more videos in this format in the future, because they're really fun to do. They're really fun to just kind of talk about maybe an opinion that is pretty that you're able to
spicy.
divide. You're able to divide a group of Seahawks fans about it. Also, if you have any topics that you want to see us discuss, let us know in the comments below. Give your thoughts on this in the comments below. As always, just subscribe, leave that like, hit that bell. We'll see you in the next video.
Peace.